So here's the old stereo. Reason I'm switching out because I really wanted CarPlay in here. So I am going to show you after I install it, but there's the new head unit. Show you what it looks like. It's gonna be one of those little floating screens. I'm gonna pull this out. I'm gonna wire this one in, and I'll show you guys after that. So here's the wiring before. I mean, it's not too bad, but I'll show you what it looks like after. Just so you know what's going on here, I've wired in the new harness for the power. I am using these butt connectors. You know, it's permaseal, so there's a little bit of adhesive in there that actually sticks onto the wires, and it kind of glues them together. So not only do you have a crimp, but it's also gluing, you know, to the casing of the wire as well. After that, after I get all those connections done, I wrap it in some electrical tape. Typically I use Tesa tape. I realized I don't have any, but I mean, this will be fine for the disco. You know, it just keeps everything nice and neat and not a wired up mess as it was previously. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up, and I'll show you what the wiring looks like afterward. There's a sneak peek at the wiring. You can see it looks a lot neater. All these are random wires that go to the USBs. I'll show you guys later how I terminated that. That's gonna be the interface. The Planet Audio 7-inch stereo should fit perfectly within here. Right now what I'm doing is I already ran the backup camera wire through here, under here, and all the way down this driver's side. You can see it come up right here, and as you can see I have that grommet out because I'm going through down there. You know, it's coming out, it's tying into there. I threw some heat shrink around these so they don't come undone, and they're waterproof. And then that's where I decided to mount the camera. This is going to be the power and ground to both, and also be the trigger for the stereo up front. I tied it together here. So obviously this is going to go to the reverse light, and then I'll find a nice ground within there as well. And everything will be tucked up, zip tied, cleaned up real nice. I'll maybe have a little bundle here zip tied of leftover wiring. I have to do some, you know, voltage tests and see which one of these is the reverse. Kind of tell because this bulb here is the one that has it, so I would assume it's this one, because as you can see it's on the second pin over. That pin runs down and powers this here, and if you look at the other side, that one's going to all of them, which tells me that's probably the ground. But I'll use a voltmeter just to double check. Yeah, so that's kind of the setup. You know, these discos don't really have anywhere center on the rear door to mount it, so that was just an idea I had. I'll see how it works. There we have it. If you're wondering how I tapped into the reverse, I was forced to use T-taps. I absolutely hate using T-taps, but I also didn't want to splice this wire. So we'll see how those hold up, and at least these are 3M T-taps. So hopefully they behave. But let's go see what it's gonna look like. The stereo's just partially mounted in right now. There we go. USBs coming down here, and you'll see how I finish those off. Alright guys, here is the final layout. As you can see, the stereo's in there. I waited a couple months to finish this video, mostly because I wanted to see how this stereo actually behaved. And for being a little cheapy off of Amazon, it's doing fantastic. I haven't had any hiccups with it at all. And I think a lot of that is probably how these things get wired in, but other than that, this thing's been doing great. I don't use any of this other stuff. It's mostly just off of Apple Carplay. And I actually ran the USBs that I was showing you guys are coming out of here. I ran them to under here. This was a pain in the ass to do. I ordered some, some mounts for the USBs. But I like the fact that when you're sitting here and that cable's off of there, you can't tell that, there's anything out of the regular there. I do like having CarPlay, and I wish there was something that looked a little more, retro. But I think this was a good solution for how I wanted this interior to look. I wanted to keep it CarPlay. I want things to be, factory, look factory, and that was my solution. Of course, I mount my phone here, and since I'm recording with my phone, I can't really show you that, but you can imagine the phone being mounted here sideways, and then you just plug that guy in. I made sure by how I mounted this that I wasn't going to hit it with the diff lock there. But there you guys have it. Not a bad idea, and honestly not too expensive at all. Here's Betsy hanging out with us today.